Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wednesday Build. This is episode 1.35, and today we're going to be discussing the topic, why no-code developers are the Michael Phelps of tech: structure, teammates, solo lanes, and more, featuring time to launch and golden kitties. My name is Brittany Hernandez, and I am a lawyer, a professional no-code, low-code developer, a legal tech educator, and the global ambassador to law schools for Gavel, formerly Documate. I'm originally from San Diego, California, but I live in London now. And I'm actually joining you from Mexico City, Mexico. So I'm so excited to be here as part of the 4-day seminar I'm doing, where I'm teaching people how to use Gavel. I've been so excited to teach these students. They're so engaged, they ask great questions, and they've even been helping me learn new things about this tool that I've been using for a long time, because they have a new, fresh perspective that they can share with me and that I can share with them some of my experiences as well. So this is part of the Eduardo Garcia Mena's seminar series for 6 weeks. And Jacqueline Schaefer from Clear Brief just did week 1. And now today is going to be day 3 of my series of 4 days. So today, like I mentioned, we're going to be discussing the topic, why no-code developers are the Michael Phelps of tech. And everyone knows who Michael Phelps is. He's incredible. And he's one of the most decorated Olympian of all time, with 28 medals. I think 25 of them are gold. So that is just an insane record. And I know it's such a bold statement to say that no-code devs are the Michael Phelps of tech, but I'll explain why. And there's a couple of reasons why I wanted to make this analogy and share it with all of you today. So the main point and takeaway I want to have you think about for this particular topic today is that Michael Phelps didn't build the pool he swims in, but he shows up in it every day and makes the most of the structure that was built before him. So this is the same idea we can think about the relationship between full stack developers and no-code developers. Because when I think of the structure of the pool that Michael Phelps swims in, is the same as the underlying code upon which no-code tools are built. So you can also build no-code tools from no-code tools, but in this case, let's say for Gavel, for example, if they build using Python, or if somebody else that built some other tool for no-code builds with some other programming language, and all of these different no-code tools are built with the structure and underlying base of traditional coding and programming, then we as no-code developers can benefit from that, even if we didn't personally build the structure that underlies or supports the tools that we use. So, Michael Phelps didn't, handcraft each of the lanes or place the tiles down for the lane markers. He didn't, pour the concrete inside of the pool. He didn't put the water in the pool, but he did dive into it and learn everything he could about how to actually use those tools, so that he could win by one thousandth of a second, or to blast away the competition. So that's kind of the analogy I wanted to make in today's video, which is around this idea that although he didn't build the pool he swims in, he shows up in it every day, makes the most of the structure that was built before him, and that's how he's able to, stand on the podium with gold medal around his neck. So this is something that we can kind of learn from and take away. And there's a couple of different elements we can talk about with this in mind. One of them being the idea of the structure and taking advantage of the structure that was built for us. So I tend to use a lot of tools that I really like, which are things like Softer, Airtable, Gavel, Zapier. And what we can recognize in this is that these tools have been created for us in order to make our lives easier, so that we can go to launch faster when we're building something with these tools. So we can take advantage of these tools that have been built for us and the structure that underlies what we're using. The second thing I wanted to take a note of is the fact that Michael Phelps didn't do this all on his own. He actually enlisted the help of his coach, Bob Bowman. So one of the things that I thought was interesting, there's a really cool article called "How Michael Phelps Became the Greatest Swimmer of All Time." And it's a really interesting read and kind of goes through his early years and discovering his potential and like what his training style is and what he eats and all of these different really interesting things. But one of the things I thought was really interesting is that he was very loyal to his coach, and his coach, Bob Bowman, helped him win all the way through all of his medals in each of the different 5 games that he participated in, and won through each of them. So one of the things, like I mentioned, that's interesting about this is that I read in here that he actually would follow Bob Bowman around wherever he was. So for example, it says, let me find the, he says, Phelps has said that training with Bowman is the smartest thing he's ever done. So much so that he has followed his coach around the country to keep training with him. He followed Bowman from Maryland to the University of Michigan in 2004 when Bowman was named the head coach. They ended up back in Maryland when he was hired as the CEO of the North Baltimore Aquatic Club. Then Bowman started as head coach at ASU, and Phelps moved to Paradise Valley, Arizona, where he still is today. So I think that is really interesting. And the reason is that sometimes when you are somebody who's like a no-code developer, it's a lot easier to build by yourself. So you can tend to be sort of a personality of a lone wolf as somebody who, wants to have control over each aspect. And this could just be me, I could be wrong. But the idea is that because you're able to build so easily and so quickly, you can do a lot of projects by yourself. And sometimes, at least for myself, I can get in the mindset that I can figure it out on my own. I don't need any help. And one of the things that I struggled with was learning how to take advantage of Gavel's API. And it was because I didn't have the understanding or the technical knowledge yet of how to actually understand or read the documentation and how to implement it. I didn't even know which tool I should use. It was so like I tried and I spent so much time trying to figure this out on my own. And it just looked like gibberish to me. Like I just couldn't understand it. And so in order for me to excel and get better and push myself and be challenged, I actually just reached out for some help. So I originally reached out to one of my friends from the community or the Gavel community, and because this person was kind of working on some projects that might compete with one of the reasons why I needed to learn how to use this particular feature, he wasn't really able to help me. So I happened to see that there was this message from someone on the team that was mentioning that this person that I'll mention in a second was really good at using this API integration or how to build integrations using this open API. And I just kind of thought, well, I really need help with that one thing. This other person really can't help me. I might reach out and just ask if they are willing to spend an hour with me sometime next week in order to teach me how to use this particular feature, because I know how to do a lot of other stuff and I'm very good at a lot of other things, but I'm not good at this one thing. But I'm so prideful sometimes of like this idea that I'm so stuck in this idea that I can figure it out on my own. But I think that there is something to this idea of having sort of like someone who's just a little bit farther down the road than you to help you out along the way. And for me, this person is Ash Singh. So if you are in the Gavel Slack community, give him a quick shout out if you want to say hi. His name is here, Ashutosh K. Singh. And he spent like 2 hours with me. I paid him. I wanted to make sure he was compensated for his time, of course. And I'm sure Coach Bowman gets paid for his time with Michael Phelps. But the idea being that we can get over our pride and our idea that we have to do every single thing by ourselves all the time, and we can reach out for help from a coach. So that's one of the things that Michael Phelps did, and he was loyal to his coach, who was helping him win all of these world records and pushing him and motivating him. So when we run into something that we don't know how to do, we need to drop our pride and find a coach who can help us. And even if it's just spot coaching, for example, I just specifically wanted to learn how to do this one very specific thing. And he was able to help me in one session figure out how to do that one thing. Now we'll do another session in the future where I want to just spot issue this one specific thing. I want to know exactly how I can do some custom coding, things like that. So some custom CSS, I mean. So we can kind of engage the people around us who are maybe just a little bit farther ahead than we are in the process of learning how to use a tool, similar to how Michael Phelps did with his career coaching, having his coach be Bob Bowman. And actually, Bob Bowman has a good book out that I read a long time ago. Let's see if we can find it really quick. Let's see. I think it's called, The Golden Rules. This one's really good, by the way. 10 steps to world-class excellence in your life and work. I'll probably go back and read that one again, but that's a good one. So anyway, that's the idea of engaging a coach, and as he did to win gold. The other thing is around like teammates and colleagues and people that you are kind of like in the same community with. So I'm sure that when I don't know this, of course, but I'm sure that when he was training with his teammates, that everyone would find ways to support each other and help each other. And that's where a community comes in. I think Gabble has a great community. Software has a growing community as well. So I think we can engage with these different communities and make it to where we help each other. So it's not always that we're constantly receiving coaching but we're also sharing and giving advice when we see that we can answer somebody's question. So I think that that's a huge part of this as well. The other piece is around natural ability and sort of this idea of taking advantage of the inherent gifts that you have. So for example, one of the things that's talked about a lot in Michael Phelps's kind of space and world is the fact that he was like physically perfect for swimming. So there's this article that says, here's an exact breakdown of why 6'4" Michael Phelps has the perfect body for swimming. And they talk about how it has to do with like his wingspan and like the length of his legs to his torso and this kind of a thing. So he was able to take advantage of his natural physique and its natural talent and abilities within the sport. However, it's noted that obviously you could be born with that physique, but not do anything about it. And it reminds me of this funny thing where, obviously if you think about a basketball team, they're all like 6'7", with this idea that sometimes, I think it was in a movie, but I can't remember which one, but there's this really tall person and he hands out like this card and it says something like, no, I don't play basketball. No, I don't play volleyball. No, I don't. Yes, I'm always asked to reach things on the shelves and like things like that. And so it's just a card because he gets asked these questions all the time. But that's the idea that this person who might have had the physical same physique as a Michael Phelps, for example, but didn't take it from just being something that you were gifted with to actually taking advantage of that. I think that we can relate to ourselves how we might have some natural inclinations and talents inherent within ourselves that we can harness if we can either let it die and not use it, or we can actually utilize these natural abilities and talents. So sometimes what flow and being in your genius zone can feel like is that something is easy. And we might think, oh, well, I need to like work hard for something to be worthwhile or whatever. But sometimes like if you're just naturally good at developing something or you're naturally good at certain platforms, obviously when people are developing a platform like a no-code tool, like a Gabble or Softer, it's meant to be user-friendly. It's meant to be something that's intuitive to use. However, I think that we also have the ability to quickly pick up maybe some people who have a more of a logical brain, who are able to kind of see the connections very quickly, might build something more efficiently than somebody else. And that is that kind of closing that gap of 1/1000th of a second, being that 1/1000th of a second better than someone else because you were able to make the system cleaner or more efficient and more lean or more agile or whatever else when you were building, because maybe you were able to think of all of the different branches at once, and that's your gift and your ability. So I think that's one of the things we can take away from this as well, is that if you're a no-code developer who likes using all these different tools, maybe you have a natural ability to see how things integrate together, see how different pieces can come together to create a really lean system that is also powerful. The other thing that he did was that he has this competitive spirit, as well as his grit and his consistency of showing up at the same time every day. Or I think there was one time in his career where there's a story, I think it might have been in the book, but he was allowed to leave like 10 minutes early. Coach Bowman let him leave like 10 minutes early so he could go to like a high school dance or something, like homecoming, for example. But otherwise, he was always on time in the pool, doing his workouts, even if they were 5 to 6 hours a day. So we can also learn from that there's a quote somewhere in one of these articles that has to do with this idea of how like even the pros need to learn their fundamentals. So I really liked that, because let me see if I can find it. Well, anyway, that's just the point, is that it says something like, well, even pros need to practice fundamentals. It's something that we can take away as well, is that sometimes if you don't use the tool for a while, you forget all of the different features that are available to you. So that practice that you are engaging with and consistently showing up. For me, for example, with this particular series, with the Wednesday build and the Tuesday forecast and the code word hex and these different things, I've been consistently doing each of those every week, even when I've been traveling with different time zones for 35 weeks. So that's something that has helped me and pushed me, because it's always forcing my brain to be constantly thinking about the tools that I'm using, constantly trying something, because I'm going to be trying to teach it the next week. So I need to try to think about this tool, think about how I can use it, think about how I can share something that's valuable or interesting with the people who are in my audience. I also wanted to give one quick shout out from the whole idea of teammates and coaches to Jack Adamson, who's a very generous person within the Gabble community, who's always willing to have a chat and go through something with you, even if it takes, a couple of hours to figure something out together. So also the other piece I was going to mention is around this idea of solo lanes. So what I mean by that is sometimes you're working with a team and sometimes it's just you on your own trying to do something. And what can make you stand apart and be unique and maybe excel further than others is this idea of the individual medley. So Michael Phelps, in his biography on the Olympedia website, says that his performances have brought him strong consideration as the greatest ever Olympian. He has surpassed the records of Mark Spitz and Johnny Weissmuller, and is considered the greatest swimmer ever. Phelps swims several strokes, including butterfly and freestyle, but his best events are the individual medleys. And so an individual medley is one where you use all 4 of the competitive strokes on consecutive lengths of the race. So the order must be butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, freestyle. Equal distances must be swum of each stroke. Distances offered include 100 yards, 200 yards or meters, and 400 yards or meters. So that is interesting, because although I think a lot of the time we as no-code developers will specialize in a particular platform. So for me, for example, I am very much like more into the Gabble side of things, as well as the softer side of things, and building with tools like Zapier and Notion and different things like that. It's how you put them together and your expertise in a broad range of things, but even if they're a tight grouping. So for example, I personally really like to have different combinations. So how does, not just to being an expert in one tool, that's very valuable, but to also know that that tool will exist within a harmonized ecosystem of lots of other tools, and how your ability to understand how you can take advantage of each of the different strokes or platforms, abilities and features and capabilities and potential that can set you apart from the rest of the people who are building with these different tools, maybe as a consultant or as a developer or someone who makes your own products and puts them on the market, is your ability to see how things can work together and having some expertise in just a few different tools that work really well together. So that's something to consider as well. Finally, I wanted to just quickly mention this idea of how speed wins. In a race, the first person to touch, especially in swim, there's a touch pad, and it's monitoring like the very 0.00001 second of when that was touched, especially in the Olympics, where that's going to be the difference between gold and silver. And with that type of mentality, you can kind of relate that to the market as far as when you're putting something or going to launch. So speed wins, which is the idea that if you take, let's say, it's this idea that like your time to going to the market or your time to launch matters, in the sense that maybe you're first to market, which doesn't mean that just because you're first to market doesn't always mean that you're going to be the most successful. Sometimes that's not the case. But the idea being that if you're the first one to be able to come in, you're the first one to be able to kind of test the idea and test the market, you're the one who gets to learn a lot first. Like, you get to put a product in test the waters, you could say. You get to put a product into the market, get some reactions, get some feedback, iterate. And even if you're able to do that in beta, in kind of a more safe beta group where people can give you feedback without it ruining your reputation as a company, but you're able to quickly build with these no-code tools because some of the default structure has already been in place for you, and you just need to make some minor customizations. So with that, you're given the opportunity to build within a couple of hours. There's this guy, I'm going to see if I can find it. There's a guy who recently talked about how he was able to launch a platform in like a couple of hours with software. I can't remember. Let me just see if I can find, where's my saved post? Where do I see my saved stuff? Post and activity? Or well, there's this really great one. Let me see if I can find it really quick. There's this great one where he talks about those comments, more images, likes, document reactions, maybe. Let me see if I can find it. It was really good. These are all the things I like, by the way. But he was basically giving a breakdown. I might have commented on it. He was giving a breakdown of like, I did this for an hour, and then I did this for 30 minutes, and then I did this for an hour, and then I did this. And it was really apparent that you could see that you can really like pick something up really quickly. Yeah, this is the one actually. Phew, saw it. Okay. So it's from Pierre Ben Kieran, and in his post, oh no, where'd it go? In his post, he says that he was able to whip up an app in just 24 hours called Flat Swap. Let's check it out. So he was able to build swapflats.software.app, which looks so cool. Swap your flat and explore the world during your exchange. So this allows you to browse flat and find a flat me, or browse listings, create an account. So that's kind of cool. You can see all the different pictures, when it's available, and so on. So he said he was able to whip this up in 24 hours. So even though he never personally faced this issue, he saw that it might be a good idea. So he said it's 100% free. And then this is what I was saying. He breaks it down of how he was able to put this together. Step 1, confirming the problem. He skipped this because he already had the idea. Step 2, 1 hour. He went on a quick online hunt to find the best no-code marketplace builder, and he settled on Software, which was easy to use. For the backend, he used Airtable. The other option would be Google Sheets. Step 3, for 2 hours, he spent some quality time getting to know the tool and to figure out how they tick. For 1 hour, he threw together some wireframes, did a little brainstorming, It was simple. He grabbed a piece of paper, made some sketches, and he was good to go. For 1 hour, he created the back end. He had a solid vision of what it was going to look like, and building an Airtable was easy. He set up just 2 sheets, users and apartments. Step 6, for 2 hours, he was building the front end. He crafted every page and tied them to his Airtable entries. Then for 1 hour, he did the finishing touches. He went the extra mile, created a logo, designed templates for sublease agreements, terms and conditions, and a privacy policy. So he's aware that the app has room for improvement, but he doesn't think that those are the most critical. It allowed him to just put something out there. And he says, what we're really missing is the essential go-to-market strategy. Since it's marketplace, you need people on the app to attract more people to the app. It's a bit of a chicken and the egg situation. However, time flies. I've reached the end of my day. Plus, as you know, bumpy, take up most of my time. So perhaps I'll tackle that another day. But anyway, so that's just this idea. And I love this post so much because it's this idea that you're able to just take your idea, put it into the market, try building something out. And if it just took you 1 day out of your whole year to put something together, then you're able to test and fail quickly and iterate quickly and have successes and just experiment with different tools and how they work together to build whatever it is you're trying to build. It can be so much fun to build with these different tools as well. But the idea being that if you were trying to build this from scratch rather than with a no-code tool, for example, perhaps it would take you, instead of 24 hours, several weeks, and it would maybe take a lot of time to put all these different pieces together before you're able to actually go to market. So that 1/1000th of a second to market faster in order to actually test your idea out, get new people to adopt the idea, get new users, and so on. It makes a difference in getting to gold. So speaking of gold, I just thought it was going to be a fun, cute little thing to highlight that this idea of the Golden Kitty Award. So something that Software wins a lot is the Product Hunt's Golden Kitty Awards. So it's just cool to see that we get to use these tools that are really shaping and changing and pushing forward the industry in the no-code space, and to really understand that we can use these in order to put our ideas into the market quickly as Michael Phelps in the water. So that's my my little message for everyone today, which is just to kind of remember that we are the Michael Phelps of the no-code world because we have had the benefit of people building structures for us. We have our own pool built with and from full stack developers who have put in the time and energy to build a pool for us to swim in, which is the no-code space. And also we've had teammates and coaches that we can tap into their knowledge and share their knowledge with us as we can share our knowledge with them. We have our natural inclinations and abilities. So if you are somebody who loves this and it comes easy to you and it's something that you like spending your time trying to figure out how to connect these things together and how to make this page do this thing, then that's something that might be useful to take advantage of in your life. Also, this idea of the solo lane and the idea of the individual medley and putting together these different combinations of factors where your strokes are your platforms, where maybe you're really, really good at Software and you're really, really good at Gavel, and you understand how Airtable fits within these pieces and Zapier fits within these pieces. And if you're able to find your individual medley of your Venn diagram of success, as some other HubSpot creators have said, is this idea that you're able to find your sweet spot and your niche in order to build things quickly to launch and get the gold. And that idea of getting the gold comes down to the idea that speed wins in the market, as well as obviously creating a robust actual solution. So just because you built something out and you did it in 24 hours doesn't mean that it's any good. However, it makes it to where you're able to test it quickly, fail earlier, and then iterate quickly so that you can create the best tool possible. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Just a few announcements. This has been an episode of the Wednesday Build, which I go live once a week on Wednesdays from wherever I am in the world, if I don't have a flight. And then I just do a pre-recorded one if I won't be available that day. I also have the Code Word Hex, which comes out with new issues every Tuesday. That one's a little bit more specifically on how to do something in a particular platform. I also put out the Tuesday forecast once a week, which is a free weekly newsletter that tells people what's the different events are going on that week. I have certification courses in Gavel. You can find those at chromeumacademy.com, where we also have courses in software and Airtable, Go Full Page, and more to come. And then also you can join us in the Chromeum community by signing up for any of our courses or any of the free events that you have as well. And then you can also join us in that active Slack group that we have for Gavel as well, if you'd like to join that community. So thank you so much for your time and attention. For those of you that are with me live, for those of you who are on the recording, hello. And we're going to be meeting next Wednesday, the 6th of September at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I'll be back in London then. And we're going to talk about 4 ways to spot test your workflows for greater efficiency and launch speed. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or via email at brittany@chromeum.pro. And for any inquiries relating to Gavel's law school program, please email me at brittany@gavel.io. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you all next week. Bye, everyone.